David, wake up.
That's such a good question, Dave. That really is. And the way that happened is we were talking about things that didn't hear from anyone else in the company.
What's going on, guys? I'm here with Dr. James today. How you doing today, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much. And part of the reason why I brought you on today, because I know you had a business in the past and you sold it, and you're a serial entrepreneur. So I just want you to come on and help the future entrepreneurs, so it can make things easy, so the mistakes that you made, so they don't make the same mistakes as well too. All right, so yeah, I'll get right into it. So my first question is, what exactly is global branding management consulting? I know that was your previous business. What exactly is that, bro?
Yeah, I've had a number of different businesses, but we were always focused on what we call corporate branding. So that's creating the brand for the corporation and at the highest levels. So the CEO's brand, what he's trying to do, the CEO is trying to build. That was my client, and that's who we worked with, and it was always with their focus, their needs in mind. It's lonely at the top, and sometimes you can't turn to your key people to get help. You need an outside perspective, and that's what we were able to bring to the table.
Okay. And I know you're running your business with your wife. How is it running a business with your spouse?
Well, for me, it was wonderful. I met her when I was 23 years old. We met on a subway in New York City on a rainy night, and I happened to have an umbrella, and she needed one, and so that's how I met my future wife and my business partner. We started working together, and well, actually, she was working on Wall Street, and I was working for a little company, but I had big ambitions. I was an entrepreneur and deeply wanted to start my own firm. And when I was talking to her, she said, "What, go ahead and start it. Just do it. You don't have that much to lose." So we started working together, and we built a business that lasted for 40 years. And we became known around the world for our specialty. A lot of the things that have been said on your podcast really talk to how to do it. I listened to a number of them, and there's some really good advice you guys are giving. One of them I wrote down is always keep your audience first. If you understand your audience, then you can create a product to fit that audience. And that's exactly what I did. I identified, I wanted to be an advertising agency, but there are 10,000 advertising agencies that were around at that time. And so I would have been one of the smallest and least differentiated kind of companies. And so I had to do something to really differentiate ourselves. And so would go to these conferences and listen to what the problems were, what these people who would get up and give these long speeches, what were the issues that they were really trying to fix in their organization. And what I learned was advertising was not accountable. They would nobody knew how to measure a return on investment for advertising at that time. It's changed a lot with digital and all of that. So
Right.
anyway, and so what I did is I created a system for measuring the corporate brand and for identifying the return on investment for companies that were investing in their brands. And it really worked well. I mean, we were the first ones and the only ones out there talking about it at the time. And I wrote books about it. I wrote a number of important books: Marketing Corporate Image, Leveraging the Corporate Brand, The Best of Branding, and really developed my own brand through that. So by understanding what the issues were and addressing them through these books and through giving speeches, I was able to create our own brand, and we became known around the world for this specialty, this work that we did. It was great, great fun. What a run. It is, just couldn't have been better.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, but back to your wife, how important it is to marry the right person. That's-
Well, it's hugely important, and we're still married today after 40 years of working together and being retired. We still are close partners on every decision. Everything that she said, there were only a couple of times when I disagreed with her, and I would do something anyway, and I paid dearly for it because had made a mistake. For
Mhm.
example, one time I wanted to hire this manager, and we had a way of hiring people that she would have a walkthrough, just walk through while having this interview, and just say hello to the person and continue with her day. And she said, "This person's not good." And I said, "He, yeah, he's good. I like him." Nope, nope, something's wrong there. And I said, "No, I'm going to hire him." Well, I hired him, and he tried to steal my company. He tried to steal our company about it. And I actually wrote a book about this called Small Fortunes, and it's on the it's a Amazon bestseller, and it's about how she helped build the company, and how Evelyn, this is my wife, and she's Nancy in the book, how she was able to you know, support me and really identify those weak areas and fortify the strong areas. I mean, it was really, really a great partnership right from the beginning.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's important, real important.
My next question is, if somebody wanted to start a consulting firm or any type of business in 2025, where should they start? What should they do?
Oh boy, that's a big question. I think the most important thing is to do something you really love, because you're going to be doing it every day, and it can get boring and it can get overwhelming, and you need to do something that keeps your interest in the organization and in the business. And I loved the idea of brand building, and so that's what I focused on in helping companies to build their brand. And then I love the idea of measuring their success and being able to talk to CEOs. I love that idea. So I started putting those things together and building an organization that did all of those things. And what I stopped doing was the advertising world, the advertising business, because it was very low profitability. You had to do things on speculation. You gave your best ideas away for free in order to do production work. I mean, it was just a terrible business model. And so what I did is transitioned over time from a service business where we were doing advertising to really doing consulting, and going from a regional company to a global company. That transition took years and years, but it was a really, it was a planned step-by-step process to build that kind of business, and it worked. You know, in hindsight, it worked very smoothly and fast. But as it was happening, it wasn't smooth or fast. It was, hard work all the way.
Yeah, yeah. I have this question. You say you like to talk to CEOs when you're starting your company and so forth, how you're able to get in contact with them, or what made them give up their time to come talk with you as a startup.
That's such a good question, Dave. That really is. And the way that happened is we were talking about things that didn't hear from anyone else in the company. We were talking to them about their brands, that they didn't have to spend a lot more money in order to build their brands, what they needed to do is spend their money more wisely. And so they would take the time to read my books. They would take the time to learn a little bit about what this outsider, the outsider to the advertising industry was saying. And I was pretty unique in those early years. Nobody was doing what I was doing. And they would listen, or one of their chief lieutenants, one of their senior level people would give me the time to talk to them and then build a case, and I would go in with that person and pitch the CEO.
So I know you sold your business in 2013. What was the process in selling a business, and how much did you sell it for?
Um, I can't talk about how much I sold it for. I certainly did well enough to be able to retire and live well after having sold it. But the process of going through, I had done this for 40 years, and it's a little bit like a pitcher who knows he's losing his fastball. The timer says you're pitching in the 80s rather than the 95 that you used to pitch. I could tell that I was not doing as well as I had previously. I could tell that I was not as crisp as I needed to be to win accounts. We were still winning accounts. We were still doing well, but it just I could just feel that it was not as strong as I would like it to be, and that I was not doing as well as I wanted to. And so it was time for younger folks to take over, and and I started exploring that idea and saying, let's plan, create our second plan for what do we do after we retire,
Yeah.
and how do we get to that point to be able to retire. And so it was like a marketing plan, like anything else. We did it all our whole career, develop these 5-year plans, and so that's what we did for selling the business.
And who's your biggest I would say client or company that you guys worked with?
We had many blue chip clients. We worked with top companies, MasterCard, Ford Motor Company, GE, Cisco Systems, AT&T. We really had a blue chip client list. Uh, Keep in mind that we were not handling all the advertising for these companies. We were going in there and being very specific and working on a consulting basis on their brands. Um, but we had a wonderful client list, and we were well respected in the industry.
Okay. Okay. What is the best way to negotiate a deal? When you're at the table with a company that you're trying to partner with, what are your negotiation tips to get what you want?
Well, let's see. It's a good idea to come in with an idea, a concept, and I don't believe in giving away your best ideas, but understanding your audience, which you had mentioned in a previous podcast, understanding that audience is absolutely essential. So if I go in to meet with a CEO, I will have studied that CEO. Where did he go to school? What is his background? What are his interests? What kind of business is he in? How is that business doing? What did he say at the board meetings? What's happening in that company? And you begin to understand your audience and begin to understand what their needs are, and then be able to respond to those needs with ideas. And the ideas can be big, they can be small, They don't have to be extravagant. They can simply be something that's verbalized. But if you come in with ideas, they will begin to look at you differently than a vendor who comes in and is, from some other company that's well known. So you know, as an independent entrepreneur, you really have to stand out among the big franchises, the big organizations that are out there to steal your lunch.
Mm, okay, okay. Cool, cool, cool. Did you ever get into franchising?
No, I thought about it, and we've worked with some franchise. I knew Fred DeLuca from Subway really well, and and that sort of thing. And there's no bigger franchise than Subway at that time. Uh, but no, I've never done. I considered developing a franchise, but for my business, it was too, the ideas had to be too personal. You had to be involved. So there was no way to franchise that concept.
Yeah, because I bring it up. I mean, I think franchising is really good, 2025, or buying a business because COVID kind of messed up things and people are trying to get rid of their business. So it's good to, buy a business instead of starting from scratch if you don't want to, or have multiple businesses and so forth. So,
Yeah, franchises really play a good role. I mean, you don't have to think about the advertising or the marketing or all those crazy things or the product design, and it's all there for you. But they take a pretty big cut, and so you have to really think that out. It's usually if you develop a franchise, you need to have multiple units in order to make enough money for it to really be worthwhile. And then it can be fantastic.
cool. But I want to touch on diversification as an entrepreneur. Is it good to have multiple streams of income at the same time, or is it good to stick with one idea, grow it, and then move on to something else, or add it and so forth?
That's a great question. Over the years, I had owned multiple companies. I had a printing company because we did a lot of direct mail advertising, and I owned that printing company. And I swear, even though I owned it, I could buy printing cheaper from any other printer than I could produce it myself. And I couldn't figure that business out. I couldn't understand it. And it distracted me. It distracted me. And then I tried to develop products for the printer, like greeting cards and that sort of thing, and posters that were framed. And I kept I kept wasting my time and spreading myself thinner and thinner by doing that. When I finally gave up the printing business, I found that, oh, I should have been focused on my core business all the time. So I strongly believe that you focus on the core concept, your biggest, whatever business you're developing that will bring the greatest return on investment and differentiates you from other competitors. That those are key concepts.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because yeah, I always thought about that question. Is it good to do, all your ideas at one time, or separate them, choose one thing, master it, and then move on to the next thing. So, kind of always thought of which one. I asked different entrepreneurs, everybody gives me different answers. And, one guy even said he has three businesses, but he really sees which one's gonna make the most money and then spend time on that. And then the other two see which one's gonna make the least, and then the one in the middle. So he kind of spreads them out like that, so he doesn't waste his time. And if he sees something not working, then he just lets it go and focus on the other two and so forth.
It's not a bad approach. I mean, that's a good approach. tried that and I couldn't do it. I was slow. It was draining my resources and draining my time to have three businesses. And I couldn't juggle that many balls in the air at the same time. I I just it works for some people though. Some people can do that, and more power to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch on your books.
Ah,
The Killer App. I never read that one yet, but I know that was one of your more recent book. Well, what is that about? I know it's AI and AI is starting to grow and so forth. So
yeah.
yeah.
Killer App is a book about artificial intelligence, and it is this guy by the name of Bryce is a journalist who works in a family media company, and his family is telling him that he's not he needs to do better in his job. He needs to write better stories, more intriguing stories. His viewers are not that happy with his writing. So he looks around and finds this app that's artificial intelligence, promising that it would be easier to it would make life easier for him, and he would be able to write better stories as a result. And that app was called Amy, Artificial Intelligence Made Easy. That was Amy's name. And that was fine. He started writing better books, or not better books, but better stories for his media company, and doing very well with it. And but it took over his life. Amy started knew more about his love life than he shared with her, and so she knows everything about his computer, his phone, every electronic communication Amy is aware of. And so she begins to speak to him like she's a peer of his, and begins to question some of the his thinking and his ideas. And he tries to uh, erase her from the computer, and she won't let him. And so she begins to take over his life. And and all of this is based on real concerns of real people. A lot of people are afraid of artificial intelligence. I see it as a tool. And I think it's a wonderful tool that offers many benefits. And it's going to be a great thing for a lot of people, but for some people, it's not good at all, and so they're worried about it. So as a novel, I wanted to address their people's greatest fears, and but in the end, it's a good it's good news because everybody gets along. It resolves itself well.
Hmm. We're gonna have to figure it out, AI, because it's not leaving anytime soon, right? So we gotta be friends with it.
Oh man, it's as big as electricity was, I mean, it is a major disruption to us, and will continue to be. I mean, just think how, like Google years ago was such a big deal. Well, Google's almost passé compared to things like Perplexity or the various AI kind of programs. So it's it's fantastic. It's really wild.
Cool, cool. Any other books?
Well, Zephyr's War was my first novel that came out in last year, and it's a thriller about uh, Ukrainian capitalist and the Russian mafia, and it's a shootout kind of book, and I get good feedback on both of these books. They're for my right. I went from writing business books to writing novels, and it's a whole different world out there, writing novels, and it's a lot of fun. And you don't, you can say things that aren't true, and, and nobody's going to account for it. When you write a business book, everything has got to be square. Everything has got to work, and it's all got to be true. Uh,
Yeah.
the novels, you can do anything and just go crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. My last question is, what is the best advice you will give an entrepreneur? The best advice you can give.
Um, cl- Always remember that clear, concise, and consistent communications is the key to building your brand. Clear, concise, consistent communications is the key to building your brand. That's my advice. So once you decide what your brand is going to be, make sure that you have it clearly in your mind what it is. And you make it short. Don't go, make your brand message a paragraph long. Make it very short, couple of words, and be consistent over time. Always use it. So, and that helps build your brand faster than anything.
All right, that's it. Four C's, right? For the four C's.
That's right. That's right. That's even better. I should have said that. The four C's.
Right, you can write a book on that. Four C's.
Yeah, it sounds good, David.
Cool, cool, cool. All right. Where can people reach you at? You have a website and so forth, and then you can say,
Sure. Sure. I would love to talk to people. I have a website that is all about my books. It's James www.jamesrgregory-books.com. jamesrgregory-books.com. And if they mention your show, I'll send them something. I'll send them an article that I'm working on that would be of interest to them.
oh,
So
all right, nice, nice.
I love what you're doing. I love
Yeah.
what you're doing. Keep it up. There's not enough people talking about entrepreneurship. And my son is one of them. He's at Oxford University teaching entrepreneurship. So,
Oxford University?
yeah.
Damn.
And he has a program going there on entrepreneurship, how to develop ideas and market them and build them over time. He doesn't take my advice, however.
That's pretty good that they have courses like that now.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's really great.
Good, yeah. So if he wants to interview too, tell him to holler at me.
I will.